Hi everybody and welcome to your golden ticket to success, freedom and happiness, the bonus series. And today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Alison Chavez. Welcome, Alison.
Hello, Maria. How are you?
Oh, I'm great, thank you. So guys, Alison Chavez is an empowerment mentor and energy practitioner. She uses the Simply Healed method of energy work and is able to really quickly locate the false limiting beliefs that are holding you all back. So Alison, I just want to jump straight in today. And could you please tell us about maybe a certain series of events or something that specifically happened either in your personal life early on or maybe sort of in your later adult years that occurred that has sort of seen you step into this way of working both professionally and also in the way you live personally?
Absolutely. So I'll just jump into my adult life, which really got me onto my path. I've always been very ambitious. I've always been naturally optimistic and a go-getter and a goal setter. Didn't realize how limiting I was in my beliefs and in how I let my fears really control my life because I always, set goals and met those goals. It wasn't until I had done a direct selling business quite successfully for many, many years, and I was not fulfilled in it any longer. And I was getting pulled to this really esoteric, fluffy world of energy work, and it scared me because I'm quite practical, and there's a lot of false beliefs and a lot of fear around things that we don't understand. And my husband was very not supportive of it at all, and we had a big argument over it, and dark arts was tossed around, and me being deceived was tossed around, and I was really very, very offended, but I was also very scared that he might be right. And so I shut that part of me down for probably 4 or 5 years and continued on in my business, and I was feeling less and less fulfilled, less and less happy. I was feeling more and more almost like a fraud, that I really wasn't being honest with myself and living in my integrity. And then we had a series of unfortunate events. We tried to sell our home and it all fell apart, and we were really wanting to move into a better area. 10 days after that, my brother died very suddenly in his sleep on Easter morning. He'd been married for 3 weeks. He was 30 years old. That just kind of blew my world apart. I was quite surprised at how deep the grief was at losing a brother, even in my adult years. And we just both kind of started to spiral a little bit in our beliefs. We thought that God had been guiding us and that He was, directing us to try to sell our home, and then to completely stonewall us on that was just so devastating to me. And we had dumped a lot of money into the home to get it ready to sell, and so I felt like I'd been betrayed by God, and did a little bit of back turning on Him for several months, and that got really dark and really scary. I don't really get into self-destructive things, so I didn't turn to drugs or alcohol or anything like that, but I closed myself off from inspiration, and it was really scary. And I finally got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. Something had to give. And because of the grief that I was in, there was some depression that was settling in. I knew I didn't want to go to a therapist. I didn't want to, walk through all of my childhood trauma again. I didn't want to go on antidepressants. I just wanted someone to fix me. And an energy worker actually came across my path, and I told my husband I really want to go to her. And he was at the point where he said, do whatever you need to do. Just bring my happy wife back. Do whatever you have to. And I went to her, and it was just beautiful, and it was so peaceful, and I felt so balanced by the time it was done. And I thought, I've got to follow this again. It just kept calling and singing to me every day. And I told my husband, probably a month or 2 later, I have to follow this. I can't continue on this path anymore, and you're not going to like it, but I have to follow this. And he just said, I'm scared because I don't know what it is. And I said, let's find out together. And if you find me going off the deep end and getting all wacky-o and weird, then you can lovingly call me back from that and pull me back from that edge. And that started me on my path to Simply Healed energy work and this amazing, miraculous life that we get to live now.
Thank you for sharing that. That really is, as you say, you started, talking about a point in your adult life where you decided or things came up for you, because for many of us it starts very young, and so it's really wonderful to hear how you hit that kind of wall later on in life but still managed to bring yourself back through it, and it's exciting. Can you talk to us, Alison, a little bit about how you now help people using this wonderful tool to create that success, freedom, and happiness in their lives now?
Absolutely. So everything is energy, and energy has a specific vibration. So there's nothing magical, there's nothing woo-woo really about energy work. We live in a universe that's magnetic and that's attractive. And whatever signals we send out through our emotions, through our vibrations, is what we're going to pull back to us. And so many of us send out the signal of limiting belief and fear. I have so many people that I've talked to, they're stopped by fear. What if it doesn't work? What if we lose our money? What if we all live with those fears, but when we let them define us, that's when those, when we get stopped and when we get stuck in all of those limiting beliefs. And so I just speak the language of the energy. I just feel where the energy is blocked or stuck, and we move that out of the way. A lot of times we'll pick up beliefs in childhood. A lot of times we'll have traumas that happen in our childhood that we don't even remember happening, and that's okay. We don't have to remember and dig down into, tell me about your mother and what happened with your father when you were 3. The energy remembers because the energy is intelligent, and it knows when it's ready to be released. So we release those lower limiting vibrations of false beliefs and of fear and trauma, and we then plug in empowering beliefs, and we do that through positive affirmations. But I'm not just saying nice, pretty words. It's actually the vibration of those words that we are anchoring into your energy field, and that allows you to very beautifully and very naturally step forward into your power, to stay into your power, and then create what you really want to create. Now, of course, we have to do action along with that. We can't just think happy thoughts and then expect the world to change. The thoughts lead to that inspired action. And there are universal laws that we create with, but most of the time we create by default. And so I also teach practical application of universal laws and mindset skills so that you can very beautifully and naturally and quickly move forward into creating that life that you've always wanted.
I've heard so many people ask this question over the past few years, and I'm going to ask you today because I'd love to hear you share your take on the answer. How this, and I'm going to phrase it in a way that people ask me all the time, whether they're working with me or whether they're just sort of seeing me at an event or a workshop or meeting me for the first time. How do I continue to create the life that I desire, right? Mm-hmm. Without, so knowing what I know. So as you say, the universal laws. A lot of people know the truth, right? That I'm a powerful creator. That I can be, do, or have anything I desire. So how do we continue to move forward in that sort of energy without kind of ignoring what's happened in the past, or kind of not, or even presently say something isn't going the way somebody wants, or maybe they're in a situation that they can't quite get out of just yet. So balancing the two of facing reality but also creating the reality that they really, really want.
Okay, well, this is my take on all of that. Your current reality is simply a reflection of your inner vibrations, your inner devotion. So your outward appearances are simply a reflection of an inner devotion. So what are you devoting your thoughts to? Are you devoting your thoughts to fear? Are you devoting your thoughts to worry, to limiting beliefs, to feeling like no matter what I do, it's never enough? That's what your current reality is. So when you can be aware of that and know, oh my goodness, I've been devoting my energies to a lot of worry and to a lot of frustration and to a lot of lack thinking, you can notice where your thoughts are taking you, stop them, replace them with empowering thoughts of, I'm not here to play small. I'm always safe no matter what happens. Everyone is safe no matter what happens. It's okay to make mistakes. Then you can continue to go through that current ickiness, for lack of a better word, into that reality that you're wanting to create. Because honestly, your physical circumstances are just a reflection of what's going on inside. That's how I feel. It might feel a little bit simplistic, but that's why I really like Simply Healed, because it's very simple, and I like things simple.
So, Alison, you talked about how you pulled yourself through, a really difficult time in your life, and you also talked about the Simply Healed method. Do you have a daily practice that you swear by, or that you know you can lean on when things get a little bit icky, to use that word again, or perhaps to keep you maintained or aligned in a really good space so that you can continue to support the people that you help, but also your own personal space?
Absolutely. Gratitude. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude is what I would say to not only maintain, but to help you through those dark times. There's a universal law called the law of polarity and the law of relativity. And the law of polarity says that within every situation, within every circumstance, there are difficult things, and there are also amazing things that are to the same degree of the difficulty. So if you're in a really crappy situation, there's also miracles that are going on in that situation. And your job is to find those miracles and to find those things that you're grateful for. It helps you go through that darkness faster without spiraling down quite so far. And then you can also utilize the law of relativity, which says that things just are. Situations are only good or bad relative to something else. And what we generally do is we compare our situation to somebody's better situation to us, and then we start to feel worse. Instead, compare it to a worse situation so that you can more easily find your blessings. That really locks you into gratitude. Every morning when I get up, I think of things that I'm grateful for right in that moment. I'm grateful for the pillow. I'm grateful for this bed. I'm grateful that I slept. Sometimes we'll wake up in the middle of the night, I know I do, and for whatever reason I can't get back to sleep. And so I'll think, all right, I'm going to count down from 100 because that's going to get me back into my subconscious so I can fall back down to sleep. But I'm going to name the things I'm grateful for starting from 100 and count my way down. It's a wonderful way to keep yourself from stewing, from getting worried, because that's what we tend to do when we wake up in the middle of the night or whatever, especially when we're trying to create something. We tend to default into those worries and fears, and so it just helps keep your mind focused on what you need to be doing. So then I'll think about what I'm grateful for in the morning, and before I go to bed I'll actually write it down. Pen to paper connects heart and head, and it has a very powerful way to get you really focused and into that vibration of gratitude. I used to use gratitude as a means to an end. Okay, I'm grateful for this and this and that, and why isn't it here yet? And I wasn't using gratitude correctly because I was trying to get something else, but I was missing the point of gratitude. And the point of gratitude is seeing all of the blessings that God has already showered on you, even in your worst situations, so that you can still see light and still cling to that light. Gratitude's the highest vibration that we can have. And so when I write those things down, the big things and the little things, and I look for things to be grateful for every day, that helps me go so much faster and helps me maintain and keep that higher vibration. So I say gratitude.
So I'm interested now for you to share, what would you say to somebody who really does feel in this moment watching us today that they've tried everything, that they are exhausted, they have done everything that they're supposed to do, the meditating, the gratitude, the being in nature, everything that we're told, do this and everything's going to be perfect. What would you say to somebody who is at the end of their tether today?
I would tell them that I get it and I understand because I've been there. And sometimes where we're at to make a leap into gratitude is too far of a leap. It's too far of a jump. And so look for those things that give you relief. not that make you feel wildly joyful, because sometimes, because of things going on, we can't. It's too far of an energetic jump to go from being in despair to being in love with life. So what makes you feel some relief? What's going to distract you? Sometimes I have to distract myself, so I'll turn on music, or I'll watch a lighthearted comedy, movie, TV show, whatever. I don't do a whole lot of TV and movie watching, but sometimes when you feel yourself spinning, or you feel yourself just in that sludge, you need to do something to distract yourself. Take it easy on yourself too. I mean, I've talked to people and I felt this way myself. What's wrong with me? I'm doing everything they tell me to do and nothing is changing. Well, it's because of the vibration that you're at, and that's okay, because we just want you to be aware of that's where you're at. Awareness is power. That's when we get to start to change it. And so be very gentle with yourself. Okay, I'm going to do something that helps me feel relief. I'm going to listen to some music right now. I'm going to, watch some TV. I'm going to journal. Sometimes it's really nice to get those dark feelings out, and journaling is a way to do that. Take a deep breath. Read something that is uplifting and inspiring to you, and just know that it's not always going to be that way, and really just walk into your faith. Sometimes, even though it feels like you're completely empty, you're not. Somebody will come across your path. You'll read something that will strike you. You just need to hang on for just a little bit longer and love yourself up, or like yourself up, whatever you need to do just to get past that, because it will pass. We live in linear time. It will pass. And just be really gentle with yourself and find a way to distract yourself. That's what I would say. That's what I've done before, and that has helped.
Well, if it's worked for you, Alison, then I think that's great advice. So since our theme today is success, freedom, and happiness, could you talk a little bit about perhaps a time in your life when you were, well, I think you've already touched on this, but I'm going to ask you to maybe sort of spell it out a little bit to our viewers today. So perhaps a time in your life when you were highly successful, right, on the outside perhaps, but at the same time didn't necessarily feel the freedom that you have today. Could you sort of, chat a bit about that for us?
Yes, absolutely. A couple of instances came to mind. I need to see what's going to be best for our audience. When I was in my direct selling business, I was there for 13 years. I should have left after 8 years, quite honestly. That's when I felt things almost kind of wrap up in a way, emotionally for me. It just wasn't giving me the same hit that it used to. I had a lot of customers. We would go out and do in-home parties, and so I had a lot of hosts. There was a 3-month waiting list to actually get to do a show with me, because I had so many people who wanted to work with me, and we were, paying the bills, and we were making money, and it just wasn't resonating with me any longer. So on the outside, I looked very successful. I had a strong team underneath me. I was a very great trainer and a good coach, and it was so empty. But I was so scared to do something different. Like I said, I was pulled to energy work, but my very first thought was, how am I going to make money out of this? There's no way that I can make any money doing this. So I'm just going to stick with what I know, even though it's not really what I like anymore. And we're going to just see what happens. And in fact, and I don't know if you have resonated with this before, or if your audience does, I wanted somebody to make the decision for me. I didn't want to make the decision myself. I didn't want to say, okay, I'm done with my business, I'm closing the doors. So I wanted my team to just kind of flitter away and just kind of fade away, so that it really didn't make sense for me to continue going forward anymore, because I wasn't making the money that I used to make. And guess what? God said, oh, that's not how this is going to play out. You get to make the decision. My team kept getting stronger and stronger, and I was like, this is not how it's supposed to go. But I was successful on the outside but felt like a complete failure. I felt like a liar on the inside because I was ignoring that inner calling. I was ignoring that voice, and the voice kept getting louder and louder, and it made me more and more uncomfortable, and I kept being very logical. I don't know what to do. I wouldn't know how to do a business. We don't have, loads of money set aside as venture capital to get going. I had so many logical reasons for why it wouldn't work, and my inner voice was just like, you're not living in integrity, you're being a liar, you're not helping people. I would have colleagues that would leave the direct selling business, and I would be so envious of them. Look at what they're doing. They're following their heart. Why can't I follow my heart? And so success on the outside and success on the inside do not always match. In fact, I mean, you've heard tell of, very successful people in corporations that left multiple six figures or seven-figure businesses because they were so unfulfilled on the inside. And so that success has to match internally and externally for me, for it to really mean anything. And finally, when I said, okay, fine, I'm going to get off my path, I'm going to find out where I'm supposed to go, and I actually started walking in some faith, that's when that inner voice started to quiet and started to, I told my husband, oh, she shut up. I'm so grateful. Now she's not yelling at me all day long. And we were okay through that whole process. And yeah, I had a thriving team when I left my business, but I needed to make the decision. I needed to stand in my power and say, this is not the path I'm supposed to be on anymore. And it was so scary. I just tell you, it was so scary, but it has been the most amazing, the best decision that I could have ever made,
Well, thank you for sharing so honestly, because I know I've been there, right? And when we are on this path like you and I, and perhaps many of our viewers today, where we are in tune, we are very guided. I feel like it's ongoing, right? As you say, to live each day in that, integrity, in that space of authenticity, and in that truth. So, we have those big hurdles, those big moments where we have, to make a decision, like you say, that we would really wish that someone else would just come and do it for us. And very often, the universe will do it for us, but in a way that we probably would prefer not to have to go through, like a trauma or things completely imploding, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when a great example in my life was when I was married. I had 3 businesses, beautiful home, the children, they would wear matching clothes. Everything was perfect. But inside, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't happy. And actually, I was, becoming very sick because of it. And then the universe did exactly what I wanted. I didn't have to make the decision, but I was then literally left, with rubble around me, having to rebuild from ground upwards. So I guess my next question is, how important do you feel it is, Alison, for all of us to listen and be guided and drop the fear so that we can move forward with ease, joy, and flow rather than through having to rebuild, right? Does that make sense, that question?
It does. It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial that you do that. That's the word that comes to mind. It's critical. Yeah. That you do that you move through the fear and that you listen and you trust that voice, which I didn't do. There were glimpses of it when I did listen to that voice and allowed myself to be led by it, but it had to get pretty intense internally before I really started to listen. And it's been so fun. Like, the hardest part of being on my path is actually getting on my path, because I questioned everything and I second guessed everything that I felt. And I needed to bounce it off other people because I didn't trust myself, and I didn't trust that inner voice inside me. But that's your guidance. That's the guidance system that you've been given. That's what you can trust, is your heart instead of your head, because your head makes you spin. And so, yeah, if you really want to create, and people do, I mean, they say it all the time, but most people are too scared to walk their talk. because it brings in the unknown, and the unknown is so much scarier to people than the crap that they're swimming in right now, because at least they know how to deal with what they're doing right now and with the circumstances right now. But what if we just what if ourselves to death? And so many people will just avoid that. But if you really want to create, it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial that you walk through those fears and listen to your voice.
So what would you say to somebody who perhaps has never heard their inner voice or can't recognize it, right? And because for you and I, you know, it's become like a daily thing. And sometimes we wish it would switch off, right? So we can just do what our head wants, right? What the logical thing is. And I get that all the time with my own journey. But for somebody who perhaps hasn't, you know, got into that real space of being connected, and that's not to say that it's wrong, because you and I were both there, you know, someday, you know, in the past. But how could you maybe advise somebody to start to decipher where, you know, where those voices are coming from, where those urges or inspirations are coming from?
Oh, that's such a great question. I'm thinking about me and what I finally did. What could you do all day? You know, what is that just really scratches this itch? And it doesn't have to be a logical itch. It doesn't have to make any kind of sense at all. But what is it that you could do all day without being paid? It feels so easy and so fun and so fulfilling to you. I would just jot those things down. What intrigues you? What lights you up? You know, I didn't know anything really about energy work, and so I couldn't say, oh, well, I could do energy work all day long, because I didn't know. All I knew is I just kept getting pulled in that general direction. So what's the general direction you're pulled in? Start doing a little bit of research on it and see how it feels, not if it makes sense. And you know what? I'll be completely honest with you, Maria. I disconnect all the time. My head pops in there all the time with fears and, oh, this is scary, and oh, are you not safe? And so I get to do energy work on myself on a daily basis, because I'm still a work in progress. We are all still a work in progress. You know, I don't live in this like 24-hour state of Zen where I just go without questioning. I mean, there's, you know, I'll wake up with my gut wrenched in anxiety at 4 in the morning, like other people, thinking, what are you doing? And then I have to, you know, pull back and say, okay, where am I listening? You know, and so it's not gonna take you 6 months and then you're there. You know, I've been doing this for 2 years, and I'm much farther on my path than I was, but I still have a ways to go. So I would just find those things that just intrigue you and that just kind of trigger you, but in a good way, and start just following that. I told my husband, let's just pull this thread. Let's pull the thread and see where it goes. If it unravels, then we know that's not where we're supposed to go. If it stays intact, though, we're just going to follow this and see where it leads. I did a ton of research before I found Simply Healed, and I just thought, okay, how does it feel to me, rather than, do I think I can make a business out of this, or do I think that I could do this all day long? How does it feel? Does it feel easy? Does it feel flowing? Does it feel non-resistant? Not how you think, but how does it feel? And that's how I got started. And you don't have to put a lot of pressure on yourself to think you've got to find your one and only thing. Just follow it and just play with it. You know, the universe likes play. That likes the playful energy.
I love that you brought up play, because yeah, it always has to be fun, right? Yeah. Just as we come to an end today, Alison, if I was to ask you to share one final golden nugget with our audience today, something that you feel is really relevant for now, what would it be?
It would be playing small was not what God had in mind for you. So whether you use universe or source or whatever, my vocabulary is God, playing small is not what God has in mind for you.
Oh, just take a breath, everybody. I just feel like we need to just pause and just drink that up, because it's so vital to remember that, right? Beautiful. So Alison, I know you have a free gift for everybody, so could you tell us about that, please?
Yes, I would love to. So I did a 90-minute lecture and I named it Personal Power plus Universal Law equals Your Big Juicy Miracle. I'm all about miracles, and I'm all about stepping into your power and utilizing laws in order to do that. And so we're all familiar with law of attraction. This goes so much deeper than law of attraction because there's lots of different universal laws that are in play. And so I break down those laws for you. I explain how we tend to give away our power. I think I do a little bit of energy clearing in it as well, so some breathing and moving the energy around, and give you practical tools and steps that you can take away and implement immediately so that you can create whatever big, juicy miracle it is that you want. So that's what I have for all of you, and you can just download it and listen to it when you're running, when you're walking, when you're cleaning, whenever. You don't have to, you know, carve out this 90 minutes of Zen, because who really has that these days? And just listen to it when you feel pulled to it.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so very, very much. I'm going to take a look at that myself too. I'm excited. Alison, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for being with us today, and I'm wishing you and everybody out there a bliss-filled rest of your day.
Thank you, Maria.